So in this video, I'm going to get you up to speed with our solar system, including battery storage that goes along with it. So stick around. So how did our all-electric house come to be? So back in April 2021, we were looking around for a house to buy. We couldn't really find anything that we particularly liked, or when I say we, I'm talking about the royal we, as in the boss, the missus. Couldn't really find anything we liked. And so we seen a patch of land and just figured, do you know what, we'll have a go at building a house. At some point during that process, I thought it's going to be a good idea to get solar panels put on as part of the build. And at that time, battery storage was becoming increasingly popular to be put in with solar panels. And to my mind, if we can store some of the energy that we're generating for later use in the house, then great, because it means we can use more of the solar that we generate rather than pushing it all back into the grid. The place that I decided to use for the solar installation gave me two options for battery storage, one of which was Give Energy batteries and the other was the Tesla Powerwall. I made the decision to go for the Tesla Powerwall purely because at the time Octopus had the Tesla Power Plan tariff, which is where every kilowatt hour of electricity you produce that you pump back into the grid, you get paid the same as it would cost for you to import that same kilowatt hour. So for instance, I think at the time it might have been 23, 24, 25p per kilowatt hour. So we would have got paid 25p per kilowatt hour for every kilowatt hour of electricity we exported, and then paid 25p per kilowatt hour to re-import that electricity. So it basically meant that all the electricity that we would produce from the solar panels would essentially be free, and we'd be able to use it, all of it, because we're not pumping it into the grid for like 3p and then paying 20 odd p to buy it back. So for me, that was the best idea. So that's why I went for the Tesla Powerwall. We were given a comprehensive breakdown of the costs and what the system would potentially generate based on historical weather data for the location where the house was being built. So shortly after I made the decision to go for the Powerwall, I heard that Octopus had announced that they're removing the Tesla Power Plan tariff, and I was a little bit miffed because it was the main reason that I was paying a bit more to go for the Tesla Powerwall rather than the Give Energy batteries. So yeah, I was a bit cheesed off with that, but I'd already paid the deposit. There's nothing really else I could do. We were that close as well to getting the solar panels put on. I didn't want to change anything because it would have ended up delaying the whole build of the house. So anyway, so we decided to plough ahead with the Tesla Powerwall option. Fast forward to December 2022, the roof finally went on the house, which then meant the solar panels could go on using the existing scaffolding that I'd already paid for, rather than paying an extra £500 for scaffolding for putting the solar panels on. So that saved us a few quid on the scaffolding costs. We had 19 Trina Solar 390 watt all black panels put on, giving a total output of 7.41 kilowatts, I think it is, at peak generation. We also had 19 Solar Edge optimizers installed alongside those, helping to reduce any losses from shading or dirt, and also to help basically maximize the efficiency of the whole system, so that if one panel goes down, it doesn't take out the whole string of solar panels, that they're still going to keep producing electricity even if one solar panel breaks or is covered by shade or whatever. The Solar Edge optimizers also help to improve efficiency and help to increase the return on investment, and they also allow a panel level monitoring. So via their app, you can see how each individual panel is performing because we've got those Solar Edge optimizers put in place. So on to July 2023, and the day finally arrived when the electricity connection could be made to the house. Ideally, I wanted to try and go three-phase. The reason being because the guy that sold us the solar panels said, well, you know, at some point you're going to have an electric car, which I had no intention of getting at that point in time. And he said, so you're probably going to want to put a charger in. He said, and then at some point in the more distant future, you're probably going to have 2 electric cars, and then there'll be arguments over who's charging their car. Now, that's a conversation for a different day. So I'm going to go off topic if I start talking about that now. So I'm going to leave it there. So I would have liked to go on three-phase for that reason. But with time constraints and money constraints, the people that do my groundworks had already factored in the cost for single-phase ducting to go in the ground. I couldn't get three-phase ducting in time, and then there was more cost of like perhaps redigging that up and everything. And although the cost of three-phase wasn't much more, like paying the DNO, so in this case Northern Power Grid, I think it was £100 or £200 more to pay for the connection on top of what we would have already been paying. It was the extra money and the extra time to dig the ground and get the three-phase ducting that needs to go in the ground that I didn't have. If I'd have had a bit more foresight, I probably would have looked into that. I didn't know that the ducting was different and all that sort of stuff, and I figured you could just, you know, stick three-phase cable down a single-phase ducting, but you can't do that. The DNO won't let you do that. So anyway, so we didn't go three-phase, we ended up being single-phase. So 4th of July 2023, and we finally got the electric cable put in and hooked up to the mains, and a 100 amp fuse installed at the same time. That same afternoon on the 4th of July, Octopus came to fit our electricity meter. Yay! Then on the 19th and 20th of July is when the rest of the solar installation could go in. So the inverter, the Powerwall, so it was a 5 kilowatt Solar Edge Inverter that we had put in, and the Tesla Powerwall. So they were all hooked up to the solar panels, and the solar panels have been sitting there since December, which was really annoying. But anyway, so from the afternoon of the 20th of July 2023, we started generating some solar power and storing the electricity, and also pushing some back to the grid. We didn't start getting paid for the electricity we produced until the 20th of August, because the DNO needed to sign off on our installation and give us a export MPAN number, which we could then give to Octopus. Or was it Octopus that took 4 weeks? I can't remember who it was. It was either the DNO or Octopus that took. I think the DNO were pretty quick. I think it was Octopus that then took 4 weeks from when I gave them the letter to then actually paying us for the electricity that we were exporting. So it took a month, in which we lost probably about 700 kilowatt hours of electricity to the grid, because there was no one living in the house at the time. We just couldn't use it, couldn't obviously store it all in the battery, and that was it basically. They got some free electricity out of us, which is pretty annoying, but it is what it is. So we started off on the Octopus flux tariff, and as the name suggests, the price fluctuates based on the time of day. During the night between 2 AM and 5 AM, you get 3 hours of cheaper electricity, and then between 4 PM and 7 PM, you pay more for the electricity that you import. When I first had it set up, I was obviously wanted to charge the battery using the cheap electricity, and so then we didn't have to use any between the 4 and 7, and the battery would just be enough to power the house throughout the day. It's also the same with Octopus Flux for the solar that you export. So there's 3 different prices for the solar that you get paid for. So between 2 and 5 AM, you get paid about 4p or whatever it was. Then the rest of the day you go on to some standard, and then between 4 and 7 it increases in line with the import cost, so you actually get paid more for exporting between 4 and 7. This was great initially. I managed to get the Powerwall set up in such a way that I was charging the battery on the cheap import tariff and then exporting as much as I could between 4 and 7, because I think it was about, at the time, I think it's probably about 7p or something to import. Maybe it was more than that, I'm not sure, or maybe it was 11p or something. But then the export was about 24p or something like that. So you could make that 13p per kilowatt hour just by, you know, exporting your battery. So you know, that meant that if I exported 10 kilowatt hours, you know, if I was making 10p, it means I'd make an extra sort of £1 a day in the exports, because nobody was living here. We didn't need the power, so I did that. People might say, oh yeah, but you put extra cycles on your battery. Well, yeah, I may have done, but that's what I bought the battery for, was to basically, you know, save us money on electric bills. You're never going to make money on this unless you've got a massive solar array and you can export loads, which we haven't. So yes, so that's that. If you'd like to switch to Octopus, I use my referral code. I'll put it in the description below somewhere, because you'll get £50 for signing up, and I'll also get £50 for recommending you to sign up. So obviously it will help me out a little bit, and you get £50 too. So you know, everybody wins on that front. So if you want to join Octopus, use the referral link below and sign up from there. So as winter 2023 rolled around, no sign of us moving into the house anytime soon, because I had still loads to do before we could do that. Tiling, you name it, I had so much to do. But anyway, I decided I didn't want the temperature of the house to drop too low. So we'd had all the heating and everything installed, which you can view in another video soon, via air source heat pump and underfloor heating. I didn't want the house to get too cold, so I decided to set the heat pump to come on. So that obviously used some of the electricity then throughout the winter. It actually ended up using quite a lot, but I'll go into more depth on that in a different video. So I decided to change the tariff in winter 2023 because of having the heat pump on. I switched it over to the cosy tariff. So the cosy tariff gives you 3 troughs of electricity, so 3 dips. Oh no, I think at the time actually it was only 2. They've since changed it and now there is 3. At the time there was only 2 dips, but rather than just having 1 dip overnight of cheap electricity where I could charge the battery, there was another one then, I think it was between 1 and 4 in the afternoon, where I could then charge the battery again. So it was charge the battery overnight, because obviously the heating's on, it's using electricity constantly. And so it was draining the battery down, and then I'll charge it back up between 1 and 4, and then it would be enough then to see it through until it could charge up again the following evening, throughout the night. So that was the cosy tariff. How I say they've since changed it. There's 3 dips now. There's 1 in the middle of the night, I think probably between 4 and 7 or something like that, I think, at night, and then 1 and 4 in the afternoon, and then 10, I think it's 10 till 12 in the evening. So I switched it to that just to make it a bit more cost effective, but that meant that I had to change my export tariff to Octopus outgoing, or outgoing Octopus, whichever it is, where they just pay a flat rate of 15p per kilowatt hour. So the whole charging up the battery and then discharging it to the grid, so the whole charging up the battery and then discharging it to the grid, I stopped doing that because it was pointless. Because you know, for the couple of pence that you would have made doing it, there was no point doing it. One thing that I think I mentioned earlier in the video is that to do this, to, you know, discharge the battery to the grid, you do have to contact Tesla to get the option put on in the Tesla app. There'll be an option to export everything, or otherwise it just defaults to solar. You'll only export solar, so you need to get the option in there to export everything, and then you have to select that obviously, and then if you set up the tariff inside the app, it will then export when it feels necessary. There's different ways to try and manipulate the app, which I'll probably go through in another video as well, to try and maximize savings, you know, and make best use of solar when it's out and everything, or if it's better to get paid for that. You know, there's a lot of different options depending on what tariff you're on. So I'll save that for another video and go through that. But you do need to get in touch with Tesla if you want to export everything to the grid and get them to put that option in there. You'll also need, for that option, you'll also need to send them the letter from your DNO that says you're allowed to export to the grid, which you should have if you've got solar. You should have something from your DNO saying that you can export to the grid. Tesla just need to see that before they can enable it in the app. So you'll have to dig that out and send that off to them as well. So April 2024, and we've finally moved into the house. It's far from finished, but it's enough that we could, you know, just live here comfortably and make do, and then I can finish the rest while we're in here. So from about August 2023 to around January 2024, we didn't pay anything at all for electricity. It was all completely free, based on the fact that obviously nobody was living here, so we weren't using that much electricity, exporting as much as we could, and it just built up enough credit to see us through. But then putting the heating on and me wanting to keep the house warm, obviously that cost, you know, used up a fair bit of electric, so that did end up churning through the credit that we'd built up. I think in February we paid around £55, and in March we paid about, I think there was another two payments then in March of £25 and £4 or something. I'll put them all up on the screen so you can see them. But since we moved in on the 20th of April 2024, we haven't paid a penny so far for electricity. It's now October, the end of October 2024, and we haven't paid a single bill yet, and we're still in credit in the account. We're on a different tariff now, which is probably a conversation for another video, because we switched to the intelligent Octopus Go tariff. So, I mean, the fact that we've only paid, what was it, about, but we've paid less than £90 so far for all the electricity. Now the Tesla app is showing that we've used about 7.7 megawatt hours of electricity since everything was hooked up, since the whole system was installed. So £90 for 7.7 megawatt hours of electricity, I think is pretty good going. It works out to about a cost of about 1.1 pence per kilowatt hour, but that also, included in that is the standing charge. You know, we have to pay a standing charge of 60 something p per day. I think 63, 64p per day. So £90 for what we've used so far, which is over a year now, although we have only been living here for the past 6 months. So I think it will change this year. And how I said, we have recently bought an electric vehicle, and so obviously that pushes up our electricity usage as well. You know, we're at the end of October. We haven't paid a penny yet. I looked at the stats just today, and I suspect that after this month we're probably going to have about 30 odd pounds left in credit on the Octopus account, which obviously is then going to go in November, because we've got an electric vehicle now. You know, so we're charging that every day, and we're doing a lot of miles in that. You know, this is why we bought the EV, but again, this is a conversation for another video. So anyway, that's basically it in a nutshell. You're up to speed with the solar system that we've got. It's the 19 panels on the roof, with the Solar Edge Inverter, the Tesla Powerwall, and yeah, I mean, let's just talk quickly about how much it cost. You know, it cost, I think it was £19,500 fully installed, which is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. You know, there's no two ways about it. You know, I think £9,000 of that was the battery, which is a lot. Really, it is a lot. You know, I'm sure now you can get cheaper batteries. The other thing with the cost, I know that the cost of the Powerwall went up by £1,000 because it was around the time when what was her name, the Prime Minister and Cosy who announced their mini budget. I can't remember the woman's name. I'll flash it up on the screen, whatever the one was. I can't remember what it is. Quasi Kwarteng, how I said, he was the oh God. He was the Chancellor, wasn't he, at the time? And he announced their mini budget, and everyone was just like, okay, where's all this money coming from? It sent the value of the pound plummeting. And so then the cost of Powerwalls, because it's all based in dollars, went up, and it cost me that basically cost me £1,000 more than it should have been, because of that, and it's just flipping ridiculous. But anyway, so it was about £19,500 fully installed. I predict that, you know, we're going to see our money, you know, back from that in about 8 or 9 years. I'll go through all the finance side of it in another video. I just wanted to get you up to speed with what we've got on the roof and on the wall in our all-electric house. So if you've liked this, if you want to know more, subscribe, because I'll be making more videos based on this. I'll give you some of the details of the Powerwall, of what it's producing, of, you know, the electricity tariffs. So yeah, if you're interested, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. It really helps a lot. And I will catch you in the next video. See you later.